Sean, I think
Yeah.
we're missing somebody, but it's strange because it feels like his team got a win this weekend. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from two friends this week. This is the North London Derby edition of Red Card Radio, or at least it's the North London edition. I guess we don't have to be foes tonight. My name is James. I support Arsenal. That guy over there, he's Sean. He supports Tottenham. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. We'll get into it, but me and Brad have to take a lot of credit for the recent Brighton form. Honestly,
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
they clearly listened. They clearly listened to the pod. We had a Brighton hate week,
We did,
and
yeah.
from then on, they have been on a roll. They have been out to prove Red Card Radio wrong.
yeah. I mean, Howitzer probably put the podcast on in the train changing room, and you remember from All or Nothing with Arsenal when Ivan Toney made that tweet about nice kickabout in the park with the boys, and he made that tweet at the beginning of the year. Arteta had that thing blown up on a poster board. I'm sure that they did that in the Brighton changing room, and they're on a tear right now. So yeah, like I said, we'll get into it.
Yep.
If you're new here, if you're just stumbling across us, thank you for clicking on this. Whether you clicked on the video or you clicked on the podcast, we really appreciate it. If you could hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell if you're on YouTube. If you're on one of the podcast sites, follow, 5-star review, whatever your platform so allows. I guess you can wait until the end of the podcast to see if we've earned 5 stars. But any rating really does help us, and we hope to earn your 5-star rating. Drop a comment on this video if you're on YouTube. Hit the share button, put it on your social medias, send it to your families. Make an email chain. Yeah, and that everyone loves an email chain, right? So whatever you can do, we really do appreciate your help there. So also, Sean, some context for the people. It's an international break again. Somehow we've come back to the international break. So this week we will only have one episode.
Again.
We are reviewing match week 11. That means we won't have a preview episode of anything coming up for you later this week because no one cares about the Nations League. Literally no one. So without further ado, I think we're going to turn our conversation to Sunday first. Would you prefer that we start with the final game of the weekend or the penultimate game?
Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's talk about the penultimate game.
All right. So this is Spurs and Ipswich from the White Hart Lane. Ipswich beat Spurs.
Did I not call it in our pod group chat? I said on Saturday that what I say, Liverpool don't have Alisson for the rest of the year. City's in the mud. Bald fraud is out and about. Arsenal have Chelsea's training staff from the past 3 years, clearly. And it's Tottenham's time to shine. And then I concluded, and as a seasoned Tottenham fan, I know that this is time for the Tottenham special to lose to a winless team, newly promoted, at home. That is the only way Tottenham rolls.
Yeah, and I think your next point was you gave Crystal Palace their first win of the season. They still only have one. You gave Ipswich their first win of the season, and it's just like a couple years ago. You remember how Brad used to talk about Chelsea as being like a Robin Hood team? They would steal points off the big teams and give them to the poor teams. You guys are definitely annoying the piss out of Wolves and Southampton right now. The fact that Crystal Palace and Ipswich got their first win. And so, yeah, obviously it's annoying.
More troubling, when we come back from the international break, we have City, I believe, away. I can check that real quick. It'll take me a second to get to that.
Yep, it's at the Etihad.
Yep. So we have City away. That's not going to be a fun time.
Well, we'll get into it, but City, as you know, have lost 4 straight games in all competitions, 2 in the Premier League. which
including one dust. Including one
incredible.
dust.
Yeah, so you guys just beat them a few weeks ago in the Carabao Cup. Maybe you can do it again in the league. You'll have to check back in next week for our preview of match week 12 for that. But how do you feel about this result? Like generally speaking, like the football that you played, the players. Like how are you feeling about Spurs and their season right now?
So there's a couple of general takeaways from the match. We could dive in. I don't have it in front of me. We could dive into the XG, but here's the long and short of it. We have 16 shots, 7 on goal, and the goalie has 6 saves.
Yeah.
I know that means the XG is probably not very high if he's making that many saves. You're probably kicking it right at the goalkeeper a lot.
Here's the question: you watched the game. Did it
So,
seem we've all seen games,
Yeah.
especially as supporters of big clubs, where we're playing a smaller club and the goalkeeper has the game of their life against us, and it's like they're not going to get scored on. Like, did you get that feeling from the Ipswich keeper this weekend?
The Ipswich keeper was playing very well, but at no point did I think this is the game of his life.
Okay.
I always had this feeling that, okay, something's going to go in soon. Something's bound to go in. I had that feeling all the way along. And especially on the heels of coming back the past couple, last time out against Villa, we conceded first. And by the way, a side point while I'm on that point, we have conceded first in every home game we've played this year, by the way.
Ooh, interesting.
That is a disappointing stat. But anyway, so we concede first, just like we did last week against Villa. I always felt like those goals were coming. They just didn't. And so what I would like to ask you is, do you think, given the recent form, my ideal going into this game, given the past couple of weeks, my ideal midfield pairing would have been Kulusevski, Sarr, and Bentancur going backwards down the field.
Yeah.
Bentancur's been great. He actually had a really good game against Ipswich. Sarr's been spectacular when he comes on. He's really lanky. He's really good with the ball at his feet. He's really good at ball retention, and he's good at picking out a pass. And Kulusevski's just been on a tear, a creative tear.
So
it didn't work.
You're essentially asking
did we miss the raw creativity of Maddison that comes with Maddison?
It's a weird state to be in because Kulusevski has been so creative in midfield over the last few weeks. It's like I don't want to drop Kulusevski, but also it does feel like Sarr obviously provides a lot more defensively than either Kulusevski or Maddison.
Because we've played them together, and that also had not worked.
I feel like we
had to sub one off.
If you have a player like James Maddison, you need to find a way to get him on the field. And does that mean that you're putting Kulusevski back on the right wing? Because that's Brennan Johnson has been playing very well out there, and it's like
got 8 goals this year, I believe.
It's hard to put him on the bench. Dominic Solanke is playing well up the middle right now. Son is Son injured again?
Son is injured. He did play though.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He has like a groin, hamstring, some type of leg injury that he's either playing through or getting good enough that he can play, but he's nursing. It's like this international breaks. Hopefully he doesn't play.
It's like the same thing that he did 2 years ago where he played the whole season injured. I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I here to say that Ange screwed up by not playing Maddison? I don't think so. And especially against, and I don't say this to be rude to Ipswich or to like cast any aspersions against them, but Tottenham should be able to beat Ipswich without James Maddison. And that is more of an indictment of the players on the field than it is against the Tottenham players than it is against Ipswich players. So it's probably
to be fair against Villa, Kulusevski and Maddison started, and at halftime he pulled off Madison and put on Sarr with Bentancur was already on the field.
Yeah.
And that's when the switch happened.
Exactly.
That's when we started to beat the brakes off of Villa. So
no, I'm not gonna. I like Ange. I think Ange is a good coach. I'm not gonna second guess him. Should we move?
Well, I think that brings up a good point. Then, should we be questioning Ange at any level? So here's the state of Tottenham. We've given two teams their first win of the year.
Yeah,
we are one of. I was going to count them, but more teams have that many than I thought. One of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're one of the 10 teams that have 5 or more losses.
Mm-hmm.
We sit 10th. We have the second best goal differential in the league. We have the let's see here. Where did it go? Okay. 1, 2, 3. We have tied for the 4th best defense in the league on goals scored.
Yeah. I guess my question.
We have the most goals scored.
My question would be, what were rational Tottenham supporters' aims for this season in the league specifically?
We have to finish in the goal is to challenge for the title, but we have to finish. The minimum requirement is finish in the Champions League. We finished 5th last year. An improvement by standard would be at least 4th.
Okay. Do you
or it's going to be 5th this year. So we have to finish in the Champions League spot.
Do you think, because I think you're a fairly rational person, do you think this season that Tottenham were ready to challenge Manchester City for the title?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, after seeing them play, August, no, I probably was saying no. In fact, I think my pick said I said no.
You did say no.
I think I picked us to finish 4th. Yeah. But after seeing them play, the signings are better than I thought. Bergvall's better than I thought, and Gray's better than I thought. And so when you combine those, and Odebear's good when he's not injured, and Solanke's been good, and when you put all those things, Lancashire scored, the 18-year-old scored in Europe. When you put all those things together, and I'm not saying the fact that Lancashire scored against Galatasaray is the reason we're going to challenge City. What I mean more by that is because he can score against Galatasaray, we don't have to play Solanke 60 games a year.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by it, is we have the depth to withstand the cup games and the European structure to challenge in the league. That's really what I mean, is these players being better mean we can challenge in the league.
Your argument would be that the Tottenham starting 11 is approaching, in terms of quality, how good the City starting 11 is.
I would argue that when you have Real Madrid beating down your door for your right back and or your center back, or both, whatever, they're beating down your door for Saliba. I don't know if you knew that.
That's what
they really want William Saliba.
Yeah.
When you have that type of thing, it gives you a little bit more confidence that, okay, Porro is as good as I think he is, because Madrid thinks he is, and Madrid doesn't make a lot of bad decisions. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Barcelona makes all the bad decisions in Spain.
And I mean, Atletico Madrid makes their fair share of bad decisions as well.
Okay, sure. But Real Madrid generally make good decisions, other than Mbappe. I don't know what's going on there, but generally make good decisions. So if they're staring down Porro and Saliba, they're probably pretty freaking good, and they think they can win Champions Leagues with them. Plus Carvajal is getting old, so they're probably like, we got to find a natural replacement for him. And Carvajal and Porro play very similarly. Maybe Carvajal is a little bit better at defense. That's our really, like, our one. I won't say our one deficiency. We have many deficiencies, but one of our more glaring deficiencies is when Porro is without the ball, he's an okay defender. He's not Emerson Royal. I don't have to bite my nails off.
Yeah.
But he could be better. He could be better defensively when we're packed in trying to defend.
Oh, I guess to your point about questioning Ange, I kind of feel like Tottenham are. I don't think they're as good as you think they are. In terms of, I don't think that the starting 11 is approaching City's starting 11. But I also think the City starting 11 is probably the best 11 in the world, would be my guess.
Okay, mind you, I want while you're saying this, I want you to know. I want you to know. If I flip the results of 2 games, we are 1 point off of City.
And
if we beat Ipswich, and we beat Palace.
Yeah.
No, not Palace. Well, Palace too, but also take that one step further. If we hold to Brighton.
Yeah.
Although that's not looking like that bad of a result because they did it to Man City, but if we hold to Brighton and we beat Palace and we beat Ipswich, at that point, 9 points on 16, that's 24. We're in second place.
I agree with you. And so this is my point. Is that no, you shouldn't be questioning Ange, because I think that the reason why you didn't win those games is because your squad isn't quite there yet. And so like that's why those hiccups happen, right? And so Spurs are 3 points off third. Absolutely not. That no one should be questioning Ange. You're doing very well in the Europa League. You're still in the League Cup. You just beat City in the League Cup. Like what are the expectations? Like if the expectations were that Tottenham were to be winning or winning the league, I think that those expectations are unrealistic. But I think if the expectations are Tottenham finish in the top 4 and like play good football, make deep cup runs, then that should be the expectation. I don't think the expectation this year is challenging City. And on top of that, Liverpool are incredibly good this year. And so to me, I think I would not be questioning Ange. I think that the job Ange is doing this year is perfectly fine. I like the idea that that Tottenham aren't happy to settle for a draw. And so when they are in a draw situation, they're going for the win, and that sometimes leaves you susceptible to losing, and that happens sometimes. But you're 3 points off third. Like Tottenham and the teams that are above them, I think this Tottenham team is better than all of them. So yeah, I with the exception of Arsenal and maybe Chelsea. I think Chelsea have been very good this year. I meant like the Forests, the Brightons, the Fulhams, the Newcastles, things like that. So I think
that brings a good.
You're right where you're supposed to be.
I think that brings a really good natural transition because you mentioned being content with a draw. Would you push back against Arteta for knowing that you guys have a really stellar defense? And when you're in a draw situation with a good team, you do seem to recluse back and be okay with just defending and take a counter shot here and there. You're okay to take counter shots, but you're okay. He seems complacent to play defense.
Like he prefers to play defense? Like his default is to play defense?
No, complacent to play. If we don't have the ball, that's okay. We're not eager to get it back.
Oh, I would disagree with that sentiment, generally speaking. I think you'd have to analyze the draws that we've had this year. We drew to City, and that was we were beating City until the final kick of the game, essentially. And so yeah, we gave them the ball, but we played the entire second half down a man at the Etihad.
That one's kind of that one's kind of aside.
That's one of the draws. We were winning that game until the very last minute. Against Brighton, we drew at home against Brighton, again down to 10 men. So that one's a little weird. We drew this weekend against Chelsea, and I don't think that we were complacent after the equalizer, after Chelsea equalized. I think if you asked Brad, I don't think Chelsea really created much after they scored. And even the goal that they did score, it was one momentary lapse in defense that allowed Neto to get a 25-yard shot off, and it went in. And so it's like, I don't know. So we draw that game that and specifically about this weekend's game. That one felt like a loss to me. Emotionally, I felt very bad about that one. It felt like a loss. Who was our other draw? Liverpool. We drew against Liverpool. We took the lead on Liverpool twice, and we gave them crappy goals. So I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily think that like we're content to just play defense. We tend to press, but also one of the people that tends to lead our press the most effectively is Odegaard, and Odegaard's been injured for the last 8 weeks, and so he is normally the one that's setting the press, and so like missing him has been difficult because Kai Havertz doesn't move the same way. Now, if Gabriel Jesus was playing more, he also is very good at starting the press, but he hasn't been playing a lot. So, do I feel like Arteta is settling for draws too much? No, I don't think that. I think honestly, the only time we really settled for a draw perhaps was against Brighton. But like we were beating the socks off of like I think we were deservedly ahead of City, and then we were winning the game like down 10 men. I think it just made sense to try and defend. Like it would be lunacy to go out against City down a man and try and score another goal when you already have the lead. That to me would be lunacy. So,
Well, the reason I asked that question was the question you provided to me a few weeks ago of, am I okay with Ange never changing his tactics? And so Arteta seems to change his tactics mid-game of, okay, we've got the goal, go ahead and set back. Or, okay, there's 10 minutes left, let's preserve the point. And he will. He does do that. You can't deny that it does look like they will settle back. They will settle back and they will take their one goal win. They'll Absolutely. Settle back and take their draw. They're getting away with points because they're good at defending.
Arteta, it was the king 3 or 4 years ago. We'd take the lead and he'd bring Rob Holding on with like 10 minutes left. And like that was a meme in the Arsenal community that it was holding time. And so, yeah, like, and like we all know that Arteta is a fan of playing lots of defensive minded players. Like I think in our fully fit setup, we would be playing with 4 center backs essentially, like 3 center backs specifically, like kind of a flex halfback center back kind of player, 2 defensive midfielders. Like we'd be playing with 6 defensive minded players. 7 if you count the keeper.
Timber could be considered a right back, right? Like he could be, but he can play center back.
Well, he played center back last year for Ajax, and he plays center back for the Netherlands, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so I thought
he came up as a right back or a left. I thought he came up as a wing back. Not a wing back, but he came up as a fullback.
I thought that was true as well. But I think recently, like I think last year with Ajax, he was playing as a center back. So maybe that had to do with the fact that Ten Hag had stolen Martinez at the last minute. I don't know. But no, like I think that pragmatism is really useful in modern football. And so I'm a big proponent of pragmatism. One of the things that Arsenal suffered with in the last 20 years was not being pragmatic enough, especially under Wenger, in that it's like, well, I'm just going to play the way I want to play. And if we win, great. And if we don't win, well, then let's find like that's not good. And so I think that modern football is more pragmatic and that managers are more willing to adapt their styles and adjust to what the opponent wants to do. And I think that's a good thing. So I don't know. I think it's a good thing what Arteta does.
I think City and Liverpool under Klopp don't care what you do. They are going to play what they're going to play. And I think that's the way to approach. I think that's the way to approach American football. I think that's the way to approach soccer. I don't think you should care what the other team does.
I think that's true.
But it's a philosophical thing. If we play our game better than the other team, then we will win.
Unless the other team is just better than you. And at that moment,
that's fair.
Like the Manchester City's team that you're talking about, the Liverpool team that you're talking about, these were probably the best teams in the league for sure. With that, like you're talking about two teams that both essentially scored 100 points in the same season. Like they went 5 years in a row with like greater than 90
Fair.
points every season. So like these teams were
That's a fair point.
They were so good. They were so good. And City, to my point, is still so good that yeah, like we're gonna play the way we want to play because that's the way we want to play, and no one can stop us. But Tottenham aren't that. And I think you would agree with me that Tottenham aren't quite that yet. And so I agree with you. Like honestly, like if Arsenal were as good as that Liverpool and those City teams were at that time, if they were as dominant in the league, then yeah, absolutely. I would want to be like, yeah, let's play expansive, fun football.
I think that's Arteta's problem. You are. That's what he doesn't realize. Just roster top to bottom. Like, where are your defenses? Where is your deficiency other than depth?
Yeah,
fully fit 11. Fully fit 11. Who's stopping you?
I think we're missing a little bit.
Just play it.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I think we're missing a little bit in the number 9 position and maybe on the left wing. Like I'm starting to sour a little bit.
Okay, 9 I could give you.
I'm souring slightly on Gabriel Martinelli just because he isn't productive enough and he misses too many opportunities that he should score.
Just play Trossard. I think he's better anyway.
I think Trossard hasn't been super good this year, but like that's splitting hairs because I love Gabby Martinelli. I think he's great. I think Trossard's great as well. But like I wish that Martinelli scored more goals, especially when he's one-on-one with the keeper.
Brad has 100 left wings if you want to borrow one.
I don't need any of his. We tried to sign one of them and we ended up with Trossard anyway, and that was the greatest happy accident. But no. Specifically about this Chelsea-Arsenal game, it felt like a loss. I think if Brad came on here, he would be telling us how happy he is with the draw, and that the Neto goal was the most beautiful goal, and he's so good, and that Robert said if Chelsea had a legitimate goalkeeper, then Arsenal wouldn't have scored, and so maybe I don't know, but I think he's happy with the draw. I feel like we lost the game.
Yeah.
Unlike a team that actually did lose the game, Manchester City against Brighton. So
all I want to say, my quick assessment of this one, our comeback loss at the Amex is not looking so bad, is it?
Well, it's funny.
Makes me feel a little bit better that, okay, all right, Brighton did that to City. I feel a little bit better now. So it's not just us.
So the City lost last week against Bournemouth at Bournemouth did the same thing for me because Arsenal had just lost at Bournemouth, but we were down to 10 men. So it's like, hey, like we played 60 minutes with only 10 men. So City played the whole game and they got their socks beat off of them. So I was like, I was doing the same thing. I was coping last weekend as well. Yeah. But yeah, that's a huge result for Liverpool specifically. Then Brighton beating City is a huge result for Liverpool because this Liverpool train just keeps rolling, just keeps on rolling. They can't be stopped. They beat Villa.
So
go for it.
Here's something I was pointing out this weekend and then realized I was a little bit wrong. But then brought myself back to the correct point that. So what I said, I'm talking in circles here. So let me just run it back and give the listeners what happened. I texted the group that this was the same exact 11 that just played midweek. Like Emery's gonna kill these guys.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the roster and I realized no, there was about 4 substitutions. There's guys on the bench that played on the weekend. There was about 4 or 5. But then I brought myself back to the correct position of. Man, if you make 16 to 17 players play 60 games in a year, they're going to be bleeping tired, man. Like all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to be tired.
You're not wrong. And this is kind of maybe just Emery wants to do well in Europe. And so he wants to play his best players in Europe. And I think the Villa squad just isn't quite deep enough, right? Like you see this, especially like the first couple years teams.
They have about 16 good players.
Yeah.
About 16 good players.
And to really be able to challenge on all fronts, you need like 22. Like if you look at the city,
that's what I was gonna extrapolate. You really need to be able to rotate your entire roster
and not have a significant drop off. Like no one's saying that you need to have 22 players of the same quality, but you need to have not significant drop off. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I assumed that Liverpool would win this game just because Villa played in the Champions League midweek. So, and like that's just something that Villa do. And now they've lost 2 in a row, both kind of bookending Champions League stuff, which doesn't surprise me. So Villa.
Something to keep in mind Something to keep in mind for your picks moving forward. Mm-hmm. Villa have lost 3 straight games immediately following the Champions League.
Hey, there you go. Speaking of picks,
keep that in mind. If they play midweek, yep, picks. All right.
Yeah. Speaking of picks, let's get into these. So we, I think there's a specific reason why you would want to look at the picks because you did quite well this week, Sean. You got 6 out of 10. The games that you missed, Bournemouth. You had Bournemouth instead of Brentford, which is okay. Mm-hmm. You had a draw in the Wolves-Southampton match, which, that seemed like a reasonable pick because they're both dumpster fires. You picked Spurs, seemed like a reasonable pick because literally everyone picked Spurs. And so nobody got a point.
Everyone picked Arsenal. Oh, no, not everybody picked Arsenal.
Everybody picked a victor in that game at the very least. No one picked a draw. Mm-hmm. And so you missed points where everybody else missed points, essentially. Because if you look at the Brentford Bournemouth situation, only Jimmy and Jack got that one right. And so you did really well for yourselves. You also were the only person that got the draw correct in the West Ham Everton game. So you finished the week.
Yeah, I picked that draw based on West Ham have just not been good recently. They just haven't. Lopetegui's got to be gone soon, right? They fired him yet?
They have not fired him that I'm aware of, but it does seem like he might get the sack soon.
They're just not very good.
This is going to be another one of those situations where they don't fire him on the international break. They come back, they lose their first match, and then they sack him, and you're just like, why would you not just do this on the international break? So you finished with 6 this week. Brad has 5. Brad earns 5 for this week. I, myself, and Jimmy earned 4, and Tamzid and Chat both had 3. We didn't receive picks, or we don't have picks from Joel. We might have to double check that with him. Maybe he sent them to us and they didn't go through because he was on vacation this weekend or something like that. We're gonna double check with Joel. So tentatively, provisionally, he has 0 for this week. But we're just gonna double check and make sure that that's legitimate. So.
Fair.
Brings our overall total, which again, just caveat, it could change just with Joel's picks, but you are now only three back of Jimmy and Jack, who are in first. Brad is 3 behind you, and I'm 11 off Brad, so we're moving right along. So. But those people have started to dip just below 60% win percentage or correct pick percentages. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I'll take 55%. 55% will win you money in Vegas. So
yeah, that's true. So that's all we got for you guys right now. Check back next week. We will have just a preview of match week 12 for you. Let us know in the comments what you think. We will hopefully get back to those. Join our Discord if you want to be part of the picks as well. That's where we're doing them this year. Hit us up on social media. That guy is at whiteheart_Sean. I am at James Tiffany. Collectively, we can be reached at redcard_radio. If you're a Chelsea fan and you feel aggrieved that Brad's not here, at KSBradG on X. So you can annoy him there. Until then, I hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy your break from club football. If international football is your thing, then enjoy, but I'm not going to. And we will speak with you guys next week. Have a good one.